Okay, so yesterday we were talking about what things we can use or take for personal use that belong to the Abbey, and what things we should maybe make a little donation for if we take. And that pertains to the Abbey. When you are a guest in another monastery, you don't take anything that isn't put out for public consumption. I mean, if it's put out, and you'll know, there's a tea counter or there's notepads around and things like that. You can use these, but don't ever go into the cupboards in another monastery, even if you're thinking, oh, I'll take this and leave a donation, because you don't know if that's their policy or not. Okay? And similarly, when we're in people's homes, when we're a guest in people's homes, soap, things that are out in the bathroom we can use, but we shouldn't, again, go through people's cupboards to get things we need, unless somebody says, please make yourself at home. Okay, if they say, please make yourself at home, then you can go in the kitchen and make a cup of tea and so on and so forth. But if they don't say that, then don't do it. And so lay people also have to remember that when they're hosting monastics, that if they want a monastic to be comfortable at their place, then they should offer in advance the things that they feel are, make it clear to the monastic what things that they can use while they're there, like saying, make yourself at home. Yeah, I think most people interpret make yourself at home in a reasonable way. It doesn't mean, yeah. So, okay, but lay people who host monastics need to remember to do that. Sometimes if you're in somebody's home, you can ask them for small things that you may need. Because I stay in a lot of places, and my habit is that I get up early and I make a cup of tea and then I do my practices. And I don't like the people to be disturbed by having to get up and make me a cup of tea. And I, of course, don't want to go without my cup of tea. So I usually say to somebody, is it okay with you if I make a cup of tea in the morning, and can you show me where all the things are right now so I don't have to disturb you in the morning, And so things like that, you can kind of ask for. Or if, you need a Band-Aid or something, you ask for that. But in general, when we're staying with lay people, we shouldn't be demanding guests. And we definitely shouldn't just go and help ourselves to absolutely anything that they may have on hand. We have to be reasonable about what make yourself at home means. Yeah. On the other hand, with our family, it can sometimes be a delicate thing. I remember one time asking my mom if I could take one pen with me. And she looked at me, she said, why are you asking me this? It was like disturbing to her that I bothered her to ask if I could take a pen with, So, certain things we have to use our judgment on. About borrowing things from people, if we have the mind that somebody is a very good friend of ours, and they wouldn't mind us borrowing their pen, or mind us borrowing a book, or mind us borrowing their shoes, or something like that. And we don't have the mind that we're going to keep these things for a long time, we're just using them temporarily. Then we can borrow them if the person isn't around to ask. But as soon as we see the person, we should tell them. And we shouldn't keep the thing for very long while we're borrowing it. Okay, so it might happen that your shoes are down there and you have to help somebody who's up here right away, and so we're all good friends. So it has to be a good friend. It can't just be any old person. Okay, we're all good friends, so we might borrow each other's shoes to go out and help a guest who's coming. But then we should not take those shoes and put them downstairs when the other person left them upstairs, and we should not wear them for the rest of the day. And we shouldn't say, oh, these feel so comfortable. They're much better than my own shoes. I think I'll keep using them in the future. You know, we shouldn't do that either. Okay? But if somebody is not a good friend, then we should definitely ask before we borrow something. And even if somebody is a good friend, it's always better to ask, because that person, you know, we may take a book from somebody's room thinking, oh, I'll bring it back in 5 minutes, but then we get distracted. It doesn't get back there for a few days, and in the meantime the other person is looking for it because they want to use it, but we've taken it. Or maybe we take it and then we forget to return it, and then we consider, oh, this is mine, in which case then we've stolen the book. Okay? So if we borrow something for a short time, we should you know, be very careful, and if possible, just leave a note about it, you know, to another person. If we're in the bank and they have pens around, or you're in lots of public places where there's pens around, you can use the pen, yeah, but be very aware that you put it back where it came from, okay? And so on, you know, when we're with other people, you know, in their homes or at a conference or whatever, yeah. I mean, you can tell when things are given to people at a conference for them to keep, because you all get a nice little packet and everybody gets the same thing, in which case keep it. But if there's things that are out on the table that are for people's use, use it. But then put it back there, or if you borrow a pen from somebody, return it. So this is really quite a practice in being mindful of how we obtain things. Because so often we're totally spaced out, you know. Something's there, we need it, we just pick it up and use it. We never think, oh, it belongs to somebody else, or somebody else may need it, or anything like that. You know, we're just thinking, oh, me. Yeah. So it's, this is really something that slows us down and makes us more aware. And for the lay people who happen to visit Dharma centers or visit the Abbey or other monasteries, they need to be especially careful about this and not just think, oh, you know, here's a pen, yeah, it's out for use, but who pays attention to where it goes after that, you know, and you just put it in your own bag and take it home with you. And we've lost a number of our library books because of people having done that. So that becomes stealing. And stealing from a Dharma community is worse than stealing from regular people, because it is people who are intent on virtue. Okay, so it's not only for those of us who live in the monasteries or who visit a Dharma center, but also the lay people who visit here, and our guests have to be very careful about